The hum of the ship's engines was the only sound as I floated through the deserted corridors. I had been assigned to inspect the cargo hold of the Celestia Vanguard, a freighter on the edge of the Zareth sector. Orders were simple: check the energy cells, make sure the containment units were secure, and report any anomalies. But anomalies had a way of finding me. As I rounded the corner near Hold 12, I heard faint, uneven breathing, soft, almost imperceptible. I froze, hand hovering over the plasma scanner. The hold was supposed to be empty. My instincts screamed caution, but curiosity drove me forward. Inside, huddled against the far wall, were two small figures. At first, I couldn't make out much. They were thin, malnourished, and their scales reflected the dim light in patches of dull silver. Their eyes, wide and unblinking, stared at me with a mix of fear and desperation. "Hello," I said softly, raising my hands to show I wasn't a threat. "I'm human. I won't hurt you." They flinched, but didn't move. Their bodies were trembling, and I could see the signs of starvation. Ribs prominent, tails dragging weakly across the floor, and the occasional cough from one of them. My heart sank. Whoever had left them here had no regard for life. I slowly approached, speaking in calm, measured tones. "Are you hurt? Hungry?" The smaller of the two let out a pitiful whimper, while the taller one's tail twitched nervously. Their voices, or what I assumed were voices, were too weak to form words. It was clear they had been abandoned. I scanned their vitals with my handheld scanner. Heart rates were low, body temperature slightly below normal, and energy reserves almost depleted. They could not have survived another day without help. "Okay," I muttered under my breath. "Let's get you out of here." Using the emergency medkit I always carried for inspections, I stabilized them as best I could. Nutrient paste from my kit was forced gently into their mouths, and slowly, I saw the faintest signs of life return to their eyes. Their breathing steadied, and they huddled closer, as if drawn to the warmth radiating from my suit. I carried them back to the cockpit. "I'm not sure how long you've been here," I said, "but we're going to get you home. Somewhere safe." They clung to each other and to me, small claws gripping my arm, tails curling in relief. One of them whispered in a language I didn't understand, but the tone was unmistakable: gratitude. Over the next few days, I cared for them, learning their habits, their gestures, and slowly their names, though my pronunciation was probably terrible. They were sisters, the older named Lyra and the younger, Sera. Both were Zarethi, a rare alien species known for their intelligence, agility, and, unfortunately, vulnerability when abandoned. Lyra, despite her hunger, began to show signs of curiosity. She would tap on the control panels, watching the holographic displays spin with fascination. Sera was quieter, preferring to stay close to Lyra and me, occasionally venturing a tentative glance at the stars outside the viewport. "You're safe now," I said one evening, watching them curl up together on a spare cot. "No one is going to hurt you again." Lyra tilted her head, studying me. Then, slowly, she reached out a small hand and touched my arm. It was a gesture of trust. For weeks, we traveled together. I repaired damaged sections of the freighter, while they explored cautiously. I taught them basic human gestures, laughter, and even the concept of comfort. In return, they taught me how to move silently across the ship, how to detect subtle changes in atmosphere and energy readings, and even how to understand some of their alien language. It wasn't long before the galaxy began to notice. Scans of my ship from nearby patrols revealed 2 unregistered Zarethi on board. Reports spread quickly. Human rescues rare alien siblings. 2 Zarethi in human custody. Some were amazed, some suspicious. But the sisters didn't care. They had bonded with me, and I with them. Then came the day of the ambush. A group of Zarithi hunters, bounty hunters claiming jurisdiction over abandoned Zarithi, tracked us across light years. They didn't care about our relationship, only that the sisters were claimed property in their eyes. The alarm sounded, red lights flashing as the ship's sensors detected multiple approaching vessels. Lyra and Sera clung to me as I activated the ship's emergency protocols. "Stay behind me," I ordered. "I won't let anyone harm you." The battle was chaotic. Laser fire streaked across the void outside, and the hull shook violently. I maneuvered the ship, dodging energy blasts, while the sisters used their agility to assist, leaping across panels, pressing emergency overrides, and even hurling objects to jam the controls of the attackers. At one point, a plasma beam penetrated the cockpit wall. I dove, dragging the sisters to safety. Lyra's eyes shone with determination as she whispered, "We can help, human, together." It was then that I realized the bond we had formed was more than survival, it was unity. In that moment, human and Zarithi, engineer and sisters, became a single force. Working together, we outmaneuvered the hunters, disabled their engines with makeshift energy traps, and forced them to retreat. When silence returned, the sisters collapsed against me, exhausted but alive. Lyra looked up at me, and with a faint smile, said something in Zarithi. I didn't understand the words fully, but the meaning was clear: trust, gratitude, and something deeper, a bond that transcended species. Over the next weeks, we navigated to the nearest Zarithi-friendly colony. There, I formally registered them as protected beings under interstellar law. Officials were impressed by the account of our escape, the sisters' quick thinking, and the unbreakable bond we had formed. But Lyra and Sera weren't interested in titles, protection, or recognition. They wanted family. And, in me, they found it. On the observation deck one evening, as the twin suns of Zareth, 9 set over the horizon, Lyra placed her hand on mine. Sera mirrored her. Their small claws didn't hurt, but the gesture carried weight, a promise of loyalty, companionship, and trust that would last across the stars. I smiled down at them. The galaxy might be surprised by this bond, but not me. Not anymore. Lyra leaned against my shoulder, Sera curling at my feet. Together, we watched the suns dip below the horizon. Alone and starving they had been, but now we were a team, a family. The galaxy could watch, judge, or whisper about the unlikely trio we had become, but none of that mattered. What mattered was here, in this moment, aboard a starship that had once been cold and empty, now alive with trust, laughter, and life. And somewhere in the quiet hum of the engines, I felt it, a truth I could not deny. In saving them, I had found something I didn't even know I was looking for, a bond that would endure across galaxies, species, and time itself.